Good morning, kids, and welcome to another episode of Fox Flicks on True Green 7. Today, we're watching as he cuts Pokemon in half. That's right, instead of fusing Pokemon together to create a new species, he's actually defusing them to create a new species. Anyway, let's hop in and check it out. What you got, man?
Hey guys, Ron here, and one of my oldest Fakemon videos on the channel, way before the Creating New Pokemon series videos, was a Pokemon Fusions video. Don't watch it, because Pokemon Fusions come and go. They rise and fall in popularity, but Pokemon Defusions are gonna be here forever. Instead of combining two Pokemon to create a new Fakemon, what if I took one Pokemon and split it into two Fakemon with attributes from the original, as if these two were combined to create the original Pokemon. It's kinda hard to demonstrate it without showing an example, so since I don't want to spoil a pair in the video, here's a great example from the net. The interweb, because I didn't come up with the concept, so don't praise me for it. But please, leave a like if you want to see part 2, and let me know which Pokemon you'd want me to defuse.
Yeah, I totally want to see more of this. Let me go ahead and quickly give it a thumbs up. Right there and done.
Let's begin with
I don't know why it didn't appear. I'll check it later.
Blaziken. When it came out, it was the first of its kind, basically the beginning of extremely humanoid starters, but he was relatively received by Pokemon fans who valued cool monsters, which was a majority of them, but a good amount of fans were disappointed with Torchic's path. They didn't like that this cute chicken evolved into a man with talons for arms, feather hair, and a beak. Blaziken is almost draconic, a very vague creature, which is, in my opinion, why it's such a successful Pokemon design. It's original and has lots of energy, but that also makes it a candidate for defusion. We can easily turn it into a Pokemon that is way more chicken-like, and then another Pokemon that has no chicken attributes whatsoever, but pulls from Blaziken's martial artist elements. So I'm making a chickeny Blaziken with a more defined beak that is separated from its face. Blaziken eyes, though. It's a rooster, so it'll have red protruding from its face, but in a completely different configuration than Blaziken. It's a fire type, so the chicken waddle will look like an explosion. This one will be the one with Blaziken's white feathers, so I'll make that look like an explosion as well, but still with split spikes on the head. The tail is Blaziken's, but the body ain't. The leg patterns will go on the wings, and Blaziken's talon hands will have come from this guy's grippers. Adjusting the proportions before redefining the line art. Keep in mind, I won't be making official-looking Sugimori-style art of the Fakemon I'm making today, because I don't want to pretend like any of these could actually be real Pokemon in any way. It possesses all of Blaziken's colors, but with an added green that is lost when it fuses with the next Pokemon. Say hi to Emberoost, the incubation Pokemon, a fire type. Emberoost are
I think he probably could have called it like Emberoostor. Well, like even just that ER at the end and gives it a bit more of an O kind of sound. Emberoostor.
And caretakers that spend most of their days brooding their eggs. They emit radiating heat that can incubate an entire barn full of eggs. One Emberoost is incredibly vital to most farms. For that reason, they are well taken care of. It is believed that their happy disposition is owed to how well they are treated. But Emberoost will not go easy on anybody who threatens their young. They will chase a threat for miles, and even days, until they dispose of their body. Cuddling up next to Emberoost on a cold winter night is one of life's true delights. Here's a shiny for you. I mean, this is what I always imagined Blaziken to look like if it was simply a fire type and wasn't a starter. I mean, we don't even have any other chicken Pokemon, so it's weird that Blaziken is the only example in the Pokemon world. This could easily be a related Pokemon. Now let's see if we can make our potential martial artist to fuse with Emberoost.
Oh, nope, we're gonna see about that in a moment. And we're back.
Starting with something that is more reminiscent of Blaziken's shape. Even the hair is going to be there, but this guy isn't feathery or bird-like at all. Since Blaziken gets its beak from Emberoost, this guy can't exactly have a chicken beak. I'll make him look more draconic. Blaziken's head spikes will come from this guy, but the shape will come from Emberoost. I'm giving him patterns that allude to a karate gi, and the hair shape will be closer to Blaziken's. The legs will also look like traditional martial artist clothes. The hands were tough to decide on since I didn't want them to be straight up human hands, but I also had to make sure that they make sense with whatever fighting style he uses. So I eventually closed the fists, as I decided that the dude will be punching and kicking. But then the arms look straight up human, so I made them way girthier. When reconstructing the guy, I gave him these dangly karate belt appendages that allude to Blaziken's crotch feathers. Since the other guy got all the colors, I can be original with this one's color palette. So black and white it is. Mostly because I wanted to have a black belt and white gi, but anybody could have guessed that that would have looked a bit too plain, so a passionate red tied it all together. This is Sensevere, the sparring Pokemon, a pure fighting type from the words Sensei and Severe. Sensevere are masters of both kicks and punches.
Now this name, I don't have anything against it. It's actually pretty good.
They utilize their
give it a
knowledge by
thumbs up.
training weak Pokemon. They travel throughout the land looking for apprentices and will stay with them until they sense sufficient improvement in their skills. They will even train humans. Sensevere is one of the few Pokemon seen training its own trainer. Sensevere's body adjusts to the level of their opponent's fighting skills. The padded hair and limbs that Sensevere possesses can be flexed to be hard as possible for battle and soft when sparring with beginners. Here's their shiny. This Pokemon has a very Gen 1, 2, and 3 look to it, relatively minimal with a vague concept. The thought of a Pokemon sharing a similar silhouette to an existing Pokemon kinda blows my mind though. This is the kind of knockoff Pokemon I made as a kid, but fully realized. Now let's look at them both together. They are definitely equal parts Blaziken, a perfect 50-50 I guess. I love the idea of putting the details of Blaziken on one Pokemon and giving another Pokemon the form and shape of a Blaziken. I'm very proud. Archeops is my favorite fossil Pokemon and among my favorite in Gen 5. He's kinda underrated considering he's so strong, Game Freak gave him an ability to hinder his stats, but from a pure design standpoint he's pretty sick. I love the contrast between such a feral looking Pokemon and these vibrant colors, but Archeops always looked like a lizard inside of the body of a bird. I mean that's kind of the point of an Archaeopteryx Pokemon. It's supposed to look like the ancestor of all living bird Pokemon, an avian dinosaur that bridges the gap between Dino and Birdo. So how about I just make a dinosaur and a bird? You know what those are. So we're starting with some kind of theropod that has the head and tail of an Archeops, albeit with a flatter dome and thicker tail. He's a bit more composed than an Archeops, kinda sneaky-like. Everything but the tail and head will be fully original, especially the rock feathers protruding all around. At this point he's looking a bit plain, so those rock spikes gave it a nice prehistoric look, refining it so you can take my boy seriously, and adding Archeops' skin color, but a dark navy color for the rocks and scales. But that once again made everything look bland, since I kinda need to use all the colors for the next Pokemon. I went for an alternating stripes kinda look, but then it felt like the placement of the colors was arbitrary. At the end, I finally decided to just make it all blue, but with contrasting stripes, so that they can camouflage in the dark. That's when I also decided to give him original eyes, so that the next Pokemon can have Archeops' eyes. Beware, Jaggedire, the Midnight Pokemon, a rock type. Jaggedire.
Okay, that's not too bad. Looks like the name would be a fusion from Jagged and Dial.
Were ancient Pokemon who hunted at night. The rock scales on their body were navy in color, allowing them to perfectly blend into the shadows. They stalked their prey and attacked when they went to sleep. Their scent is so close to that of surrounding rocks that other Pokemon were unable to sniff them out. Their body temperature is also that of cold rock. In battle, they slice their opponent with the sharp rocks on their tail. They will stare down their foe, tracking them down with perfect vision. Their stripes make it hard for their opponent to read their movement. Their shiny is more rock-like. The color scheme was tough to come up with since I plan on giving all the beautiful colors to the birds, so it will make sense eventually. I love navy Pokemon too. We don't have that many navy Pokemon. Now this guy is literally gonna have the body of an Archeops, similar pose too, but the head is completely original. A full-on bird instead of an avian dinosaur. I'm taking inspiration from a vulture with Archeops' eyes, but a more mischievous expression. When this guy and Jaggedire combine, the chest feathers become spiky. Archeops doesn't exactly have bird legs, so this guy will have shorter legs too. The colors are very similar to Archeops, but with different placements so that the head can be green. Check out Berserk, the unbalanced Pokemon.
Well, that was pretty fast. And the name, of course, clearly comes from Bird and Berserker. Oh, well, Berserk.
A flying dark type. Berserk are unhinged in every way. Their personality, flight patterns, and taste in food change every day. They have been observed to lack any routine. Berserk is one of the hardest Pokemon to train, but they are some of the most entertaining to watch battle. They will do anything to win, and will often tease the opponents before playing dead. They twirl around in the air before soaring to great heights and swooping down. They are impossible to predict and difficult to hit. Some have found Berserk to give up the act, and act completely normal when physically tired and lacking the energy to move about. They are surprisingly earnest and polite in this state. Their shiny is so colorful. I really like the shapes on this Pokemon's head. You know, all the original parts that don't come from Archeops. It's crazy how it has Archeops' body and even eyes, but it feels like a completely different Pokemon. Seeing them side by side, it's cool to see one have the vibe and look of an Archeops, while the other has most of Archeops' body and colors, but a completely different personality. It really feels like I held Archeops and just ripped him apart into two beings.
Oh, hold on. We'll be right back. And we're back.
And now, as a huge Cobalion defender, I'd say he's already majestic and brave looking. I love his colors and
You know, one thing actually about this is that instead of us only getting like 3 or 4 Pokemon per video because of, you know, the everything, we're technically getting 6.
I like his lore, but I obviously understand people's critique of this creature. His anthropomorphic expression and legs look uncanny. I think the face is perfect, but the boots could belong on a different Pokemon. So how do we split it? We make an antelope deer thing that is way more animalistic, and then another Fakemon that has all the humanoid attributes of Cobalion. But of course, some of the other aspects like the colors will be mixed around. I don't want any of these to only embody one aspect of the Pokemon. So basically an antelope deer hybrid in terms of the anatomy. It has Cobalion's chest floof, but other than that, the shapes of each body part is completely different. It has these antler ears and a black head in a completely different shape than Cobalion's black head. The snout is noticeably different as well, as we remove anything that can be interpreted as humanoid. In the beginning, it had antler eyebrows, but that goes away by the end. The body is pretty much a minimal, non-legendary version of what Cobalion's got going on. I'm adding Cobalion's spots as they make sense on a deer. Finally decided to combine the two antlers that are reminiscent of Cobalion's neck armor and give him this ear-like protrusion. The colors have a similar configuration as Cobalion's body, but obviously golden instead of cobalt colored. Behold, Goldenoble, the bright Pokemon, a pure fighting.
Name is obviously a fusion of golden and noble, so, you know, good noble, Goldenoble. How do they pronounce it? Whatever. Whoops, hold on. I'm sorry. I accidentally hit M.
Trustworthy. They roam the forest, greeting every Pokemon they see and helping out when they are needed. They are the first to combat any threat to the forest in place of any Pokemon or human under its protection. It overexerts itself in battle, often leading to victory at the cost of its health. Their antlers extend, allowing them to knock down fruit from branches above them, and to surprisingly extend their reach in battle. Their fur is incredibly reflective and luxurious. They glisten during the sunset. Their shiny is a calming blue. We need more golden Pokemon. This dude looks more like a prince than a musketeer, which is what the other Fakemon will look like. So while this guy's body is completely original, his face will be more like Cobalion. Trying to give him a musketeer aesthetic, a little chivalrous.
Chivalry is what you're trying to go for, my friend.
Chivalrous too, with blades coming out of the top of his hand. Cobalion's neck spikes come from this guy's legs, and of course, Cobalion's infamous shoes come from him too. It's basically a mishmash of different Cobalion parts forming new shapes. It's basically Cobalion reincarnated into a completely different creature. I imagine it to be more closely related to a rabbit Pokemon. This is Shakespeare, the swashbuckling Pokemon, a steel type. This brave Pokemon loves to go on adventures. In the past, Shakespeare have been utilized as castle guards and jungle guides. They live for experiences and will often get bored when staying in one place or position. They are covered in an alloy that fully protects them, allowing Shakespeare to be as reckless and daring as they want. They have knives that extend from their hands. Shakespeare oddly loved the admiration of women in particular, and will often show off. The shiny is golden. I mean, yeah, that's obvious. I love how Cobalion was easy to translate into a tiny bipedal version of itself. It's very charming. But what I'm very excited about is how both of these look like Cobalion. They really seem related, while also taking inspiration from other Unovan Pokemon like Sawsbuck and Bisharp. They very much embody Generation 5, almost like being both fusions and defusions. And if you want to see more defusions, leave a like and let me know which Pokemon you want.
Alright, well I gotta say, this was actually an interesting video, and I totally want to see more of this, of Pokemon Defusion. Now imagine that as a fan game. You get a Pokemon and you can separate it only if it has two types. Now that would at least be fun, because then the monotypes, you know, don't get anything. Well, alright everyone, that's going to be the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below. And I'll see all you kids next time when we flick on. Peace out.